is Frank Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report. And I thought I would do this report on a local issue, and it's on the beach closings. It's interesting. I went down there yesterday, and I went to the South Jetty, thought I'd get a little bit of sun, and it smelled horrible because the seaweed is just stacking up there. I mean, it was a god-awful smell, and I had a hard time just staying there. But you go to the issue at hand, which is the contamination. There was a no-swim advisory. It was put in for 4 beaches here in Sarasota County, from Turtle Beach, Minnesota. Actually, Turtle Beach, I believe, is the one in Sarasota. It's not what we used to call Turtle Beach here. Minnesota Beach, Venice Beach, and the pier. Miraculously, this bacteria-laden water doesn't travel. I mean, I surf all the time, and I get caught in currents constantly, and I'm drifting and all that good stuff, but this water is miraculous, and it doesn't travel. And miraculously, it disappears overnight, and they open back up the beaches, surprisingly. But the warning, this was pretty severe, where they had to tell people, hey, you don't even want to fish because the bacteria in there is so unsafe. And it revealed the enterococcus. I can't even pronounce it. The health official said that this bacteria could have come from animal waste, stormwater runoff, human sewage. They just don't know. Failed septic systems. They do know. They just don't want to admit it. I'm going to cover that in a second. But the bacteria can essentially, like you guessed it, make you sick. And the water is always dirty. People get pissed when I say it because they think, oh, God, you're going to scare away the tourists. But it's always dirty. And I go back to just when I was surfing one day, and I went on a wave, ended the wave, got was getting back on my board. Some idiot was dropping in right at me, ran over my foot with his longboard, and his fin sliced my foot, the tendon. I got out of the water immediately. It was cut deep. Got an infection. It's so quick, and that water's so dirty, and the doctors will tell you it is a filthy, filthy water. Hate me if you want, but that's the fact. And here's why, guys. Besides the fact that it opened up miraculously, which just drives me crazy that this just doesn't happen. What you're seeing are pipes. These are outflow pipes, and they spew untreated stormwater out into the Gulf. It's been like this for years. When I was a kid, it wasn't like this in the early 80s here. And I believe it came into play when I left and went into the military some 20 plus years ago. It's funny because if you go out and you search, there's actually an article out there from the Herald in 2012 where the city council finally admitted to the fact that this sporadic contamination that continues to close our beaches down is coming from that outflow pipe. And they've always been quick to blame birds. Birds are pooping on the beach, and the beach is sucking up the poop, and that's animal waste and stuff, and that's what's closing the beach. They blamed it on some big flush, a gush of polluted water, stormwater. But that's not it, folks. These pipes, and I believe there's 10 of them along Venice beaches, and then there's some in the intercoastal. They're up in Sarasota. They're throughout here, and it's an antiquated stormwater management system that was put in place throughout Southwest Florida, and there's hundreds of them throughout the area. So it's not a Venice thing. It's not just a Sarasota thing, and these outfalls are what they need to be looking for. And back in 2012, the city finally admitted it here in Venice, and they put all kinds of plans in action, but nothing ever happened. I remember one time I went to, I wrote an email to the mayor. I don't know, it must have been like 5 years ago. And I said, what's up with these drains and that stuff? And he basically said, oh, you know what? What happens is the water goes into these drains and then goes into the system, into some water treatment facility before it contaminates our water. Wrong. If you just go to this county's own page, it says that the water that enters into the storm drains does not go into any treatment facility. It's right there. I'm looking right at it. I'll put the link up. And basically what it does is the water that flows from our lawns, our driveways, the parking lots, the fertilizer, oils, chemicals, glass clippings, animal waste, pet waste, any of that stuff gets collected, goes down, shoots out these pipes into the water. And it's funny, like, not funny, but that one pipe right there that's on the video. I've seen tourists come here playing in front of those. And I remember one time I was walking, I'm like, you do know what these pipes are, right? And they were right there with their kids. And they didn't know it. And normally they're not as exposed as you're seeing, like in this video. Back in 2012, and I don't know, I doubt it's changed, and maybe it has, and I'm just not informed on it, but they never tested the water quality of the water storm coming out of there. And I was going to do it once because I surf a lot over by I used to race paddle boards. And I would go down the ICW and see these white things coming out from the jetty. And it looked just so filthy and corroded around there. And I always wanted to take a test tube and go out and test the water as it flowed. And back to this thing, though. They're saying it magically cleared up. Here's the fact, folks. And I know this from years of living here. Every time we get these heavy rains like we're seeing now, and we get this hot temperatures, the hot water, this occurs every time. I mean, I don't know why it took them years to figure out that it was the pipes. Now, this is videos when I was down there looking at a red tide situation, but it was illustrated it with the pipes, so I threw it in there. But every time. So they cleared it up, and then the next day, massive rains. Today, we're going to have more rains. They're not, and they're not. They haven't done any testing since they cleared it up, and it's all by design. Do you think the county and city officials want people to know that our beaches are closed due to animal feces, human waste, possible from the septic tanks, is flowing into the Gulf, which is closing it down for bacterial issues? Of course not. They don't want anyone to know that. As soon as they can get a sample that's clean, they'll say it. That's why they spread these checks out so that they don't have to check it as often. So right now, people are going down to the beach and they're like, oh, the water's fine. They came out and said it's fine. That's because they haven't tested since this last rainstorm dumped a ton of crap in there. And I don't know if they want to test it because they know what the results will be, that it's back to having high bacterial levels. So food for thought, folks. I surf in it, but only when there's good waves and stuff. And again, this stuff doesn't just stop at Venice Beach and not go to the South Jetty. That's ridiculous. All right, everybody. Have a great day. This has been Francesco Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report.